Tonight's episode of the Bill Simmons Podcast, The Ringer Podcast Network, brought to you as always by ZipRecruiter. You know what's smart? Giving a bunch of money to LeBron James and hoping he'll change your franchise. Normally that's smart. 2019, not smart. Turns out that wasn't smart this year. Maybe it'll be smart next year. Not this year, though. You know what else is smart? Going to ZipRecruiter.com/BS to hire the right people for your business. Their technology identifies people with the right skills for your job, actively invites them to apply. Get qualified candidates fast. Right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/BS. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire. Meanwhile, did you know not all alcohol products are required to list their ingredients? Oh, yeah. That was news to me. Bud Light is changing the game. They believe that we deserve to know our beer's ingredients, so they put an ingredients label right on their packaging. Bud Light, brewed with hops, barley, water, rice. No corn syrup, no preservatives, no artificial flavors. Find out what ingredients are in your beer. Bud Light, enjoy responsibly. AB, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. We're also brought to you by TheRinger.com, the world's greatest website that is loaded with great stuff this week, including our awesome NFL draft guide, if you love that. And we have an NBA draft guide. We're not that far away. Kevin O'Connor is coming up later. He's one of the people writing for it, and that is happening too. So stay tuned. Go to TheRinger.com. Read all of our Bachelor coverage, including Roger Sherman's recaps. The finale is coming up. Bachelor Party hosted by Juliet Litman. She's coming up in a second to talk about the new Hulu show that we're doing. And then check out the JJ Redick podcast. He had Tobias Harris last week, which was good. And then he's got a really special guest coming up, this next one, that I think is going to be one of the best ones he's had, if not the best one. I don't want to spoil it. Just subscribe now. Also subscribe to Winging It with Vince Carter, Kent Bazemore, Annie Finberg. Those are our two NBA player podcasts right now. And the Ringer NBA show, where Isaac Lee is one of the producers for it.
Yeah.
That is heating up as well, especially as we get closer with March Madness and the draft. One Shining Podcast, our college basketball podcast as well. Mark Titus is coming up in a second. We're going to be talking about The Bachelor. And then we're going to be talking about Zion Williamson and whether he should come back or not to Duke. And then a little NBA roundtable trying to figure out what the hell just happened with LeBron James this season, which now it appears the Lakers are going to be tanking. We're going to talk about that. Quick little playoff snapshot of who we like heading into the most boring stretch of the NBA season right before we have the MVP to argue about. All that is coming up. First, our friends from Pearl Jam. All right, here with me is one of the stars of Can I Steal You for a Second, the show we did for Hulu. I can't believe we were able to book her on the podcast, Juliet Litman.
Hey.
So we're doing this show. It's on Hulu. You can find it. It stays on Hulu. One of the great things about doing a show for a streaming service, it's there. It went up today, Thursday, and it is going to be up there Friday and Saturday and Sunday and Monday and leading up to the season finale of one of the craziest Bachelor seasons. Ever. Colton the Virgin. Colton the fence-jumping virgin.
As a sports expert, where do you rank his fence jump in the pantheon of great feats of athleticism?
It reminded me of Bo Jackson, that one clip when he makes the catch and then just runs up the side of the wall.
Bo Jackson, that's really elite.
I want to know, it's unfortunately like if this was in LA, we could have actually gone to the spot and tried to reenact it.
I know.
But he's in Portugal.
Yes.
And this is what happened on last week's Bachelor episode. He gets dumped for the seventh time?
Yeah.
No Bachelor's
fourth.
ever, fourth time?
It was the fourth, yeah.
No Bachelor's ever been dumped this many times on his own show. And storms off, and there's this giant gate, and you've all seen it online. He just easily vaults the gate.
Not hard at all.
It's like an 8-foot gate.
It was like taking a step, and he just went over it.
Best Chris Harrison performance ever, probably.
Probably
his
ever.
reaction.
Incredible.
Now, my question is, they probably had one camera. Did they film his reaction after? Was it like a broadcast news situation?
Oh, interesting.
Where they were like, let's go back. I'll make myself cry, or I'll make myself look shocked.
No, I think what we saw was like what happened. I think
they filmed it after.
Of Chris Harrison walking towards the fence?
Yeah.
Really?
I think they had Colton And then they're like, holy shit. And then they said, hey, Chris Harrison, let's refilm this. Refilm your reaction. Just pretend to be stupefied. But Chris Harrison was still stupefied, so it was fine.
It was still wild. And I loved the moment where you hear a producer off camera yelling, somebody call Chris.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
So the Virgin, he gets to the fantasy suites.
Mm-hmm.
And first one doesn't dive in.
No.
Turns her down. That's got to be a special kind of rejection.
She seemed disappointed too. I know.
She was ready.
She was ready. I mean, yeah, she's been on the show. She thinks she's in love with him. She hasn't had the opportunity to hook up with anyone else in 2 months. So she's ready to go. And yeah, she's turned down by a virgin. That sucks.
She was approaching it like it was a game 7. She took her pregame nap. She was really ready to perform in front of the crowd, and then the game was canceled.
Yeah, and then she had to tell the camera directly that they did not have sex. That was pretty wild.
That was pretty wild.
And like, she definitely wore her best, sexiest outfit, like showing a lot of cleavage. She was all fired up, and he just couldn't do it.
It seems like there was more going on than just rejection.
For her?
It was more like what's going on here kind of look on her face.
Yeah, well, like, what do you think they did all night? Just hang out? Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Sounds boring. He doesn't seem that fun.
I don't know.
So she just was not happy when she
Kyle,
woke up.
when you lose your virginity, do you think it's going to be with somebody you love, or you're just going to want to get it over with?
I think for most guys, it's just trying to get it over with. So you don't have to lie about it anymore.
That's what Colton. This is.
He is
it actually
so
made
public
more
about
sense
it.
to get it over with because he really loves Cassie, and at least he would have some experience then.
One day's worth. Imagine being second and third in this saying he had done it, saying it had gone normally.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you want to be first, second, or third. I guess third, but like, it's just very weird.
So so on the Hulu show we did, which you're on with Lauren Zima.
Yes.
Who were able to secure a very talented host who's been on Bachelor
friend.
Party many times.
Yes.
And then Ben Higgins, the love of your life. So he was on that too. And then Rachel Lindsay, who was terrific.
I'd like her to be one of my best friends. Rachel's so dope.
She's definitely the coolest person who's ever passed through the ringer vortex.
And definitely The Bachelor as well.
Yeah. She was too cool for The Bachelorette. She sized up these dudes. So anyway, during this fantastic 1.5 hour show we did, which is very ringery and has winners and losers and MVPs and all the kind of things, like it feels like us, the show. But this came up. Where would you want to be in the fantasy suite pecking order?
Yeah.
And both of them, Ben and Rachel, both said that it wasn't their choice. And Ben didn't know who was first, second, third, but Rachel said she at least asked. So then it got me thinking, what is the right order? And how do you put it, like, because each one, right, especially for the guys, they have the one they know they want. Kept around just for the fantasy suite, then they're going to get rid of them.
Rachel kept saying that like the guys decide really early who it is. But like the Bachelors, but the Bachelorettes like give more people a chance, which I thought was kind of an interesting gender insight.
Well, the insinuation seems to be that the fantasy suite, you really have to earn your keep.
Yeah.
In the suite.
Yeah, absolutely.
If something goes wrong, you're out. Who was the one who had like performance issues?
What do you mean? Like who?
I thought there was one with the Bachelorette. And it was like, it didn't go great. And it was insinuated there's performance issues. Not on this season, on another season.
I think Andy insinuated that about Nick, perhaps. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, but I think it was more than an insinuation.
I don't know. He famously after the final rose was like, why did you make love to me if you weren't in love with me, or something like that.
Right.
So that was a whole messy thing.
So anyway, I don't know what my order would be, but I think it says a lot about a person, which is why I'm afraid to answer.
Sure. Well, some things that Rachel and Ben told us was that she said that Peter and Brian both asked what order they were in. Another thing that was really interesting to me was that they said that you don't know, but then I said to them, but you could figure it out. So I feel like there's like some like willful delusion, because you know if you're first, you know when you've arrived in wherever you are. So if it's not like the second day that you're in Portugal, you're not first. So
I think 3 and 7 days is disgusting. Just in general, it's just like unseemly.
The conceit tweet is absurd.
I mean, look, I'm from a different generation.
Day on, day off. Day on, day off. Yeah.
My 20s were spent with just everyone was in fear of AIDS at all times. So I probably not the right person to answer this, but that just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
3 in a week. And also like with somebody who is allegedly in love with at least one of those people.
Yeah. Don't you feel bad if you're in love with one of them? I mean, it's just.
My guess is like you just get drunk.
Yeah, I think you drank.
I think you get tipsy and then just things kind of happen.
Sure. Also, it's like your first time being alone together. So that's like, must be so weird. You're just like, there's no one else around. Like, what do we do?
Yeah, I mean, I would think you would.
If you're really into each other, you just go for
You'd
it.
be like, this is great.
But
Let's go.
That's why the Tayshia and Colton thing is so weird because they were alone. They had as Colton said, he's not unexperienced. He's done other stuff, but like, it just sounds so boring.
Well, he's the least horny bachelor they've ever had. He's unhorny to the point of real confusion.
Except for Hannah and Cassie. He's hot for them.
Yeah, but he makes out with them like a 7th grader.
Yeah. And also he does a lot of butt grabbing.
Yeah, it's very odd. Because, I just comparing it to the behavior I see on some of the other terrible shows I watch.
Like what? Temptation Island?
Or the Challenge.
Sure.
Or the Siesta Key, which I'm forced to watch every week with my daughter. And Siesta Key,
okay.
All those dudes are in heat at all times, just trying to hook up with anything.
Sure.
And if you leave any of the guys in that show alone with any good-looking woman for 5 minutes, like they're going to make a move. And then you watch Colton, who is with the same woman for 8 hours, who's hitting him over the head with.
He's got to be so psyched out. I mean, come on. It's also like his entire journey was about how he's a virgin. So like the build up to the fantasy suites, like it was all coming down to this. Talk about there's ever going to be a time you have performance anxiety.
I guess, but isn't that actually the best time? Like your expectations are all time low. You're basically the Sacramento Kings. Even if you win a game at home, it's exciting. The girl can't be expecting, a marathon session.
I think the craziest part about Colton and Tayshia not having sex, not that surprising, the fact that they so openly talked about it after.
Yeah.
That they didn't even, wasn't even let people guess.
Right.
That she just told the camera.
Who's the third person who hasn't gone yet?
Hannah G. She looks like a doll.
Hannah G is the beauty pageant one?
No.
She's
like the one that he had the really hot date with in Vietnam, I think, with the shower,
when she assaulted
the massage.
Him. Oh, well, that was one of the key conversations in our Hulu show.
Yes, absolutely.
I helped with the production of this show, and this was one of the things I demanded to be discussed. What happens if a bachelor boner comes into play?
Yes, and
what do they do? What does the crew do? How do you hide it? Do they have to cut out? And
Ben was very instructive.
We did not expect Ben Higgins to really answer it in a really profound and extensive way.
I learned a lot. As a woman, I learned a lot,
It was like the Peyton Manning detail ESPN Plus show, but about boners.
I really recommend watching the show if for no reason but to hear Ben talk about that. It's worth it.
The two best parts of the show, not that I didn't enjoy the whole show, but it's a 5-minute erection conversation.
Oh, yes. A full 5 minutes.
And really one of the most important erection conversations ever.
Maybe
I really learned a lot.
Certainly of this year so far, of 2019.
But we learned that the promo photo for Ben's season
shows him having a giant erection.
He has a boner in it. Yes. And you look at it, you're like, oh my God, that's a boner.
I can't believe no one noticed that sooner.
He looks like Will Ferrell in Anchorman when he's hitting on Christina Applegate and all of a sudden the camera pans back and he's got a boner. And she's like, oh, you have an erection. He's like, my God, oh.
So obviously I wanted to go back to 2016, I think it was, or 16, to figure out if there was a conversation about this. But first of all, hard to Google because what are you going to Google? Ben Higgins boner, Ben Higgins erection?
Yeah, boner, erection.
A little dicey. You don't know what kind of results you're going to get there. Yeah. And so I just did some
smart.
Yeah. So I didn't want to do that. So it was hard to research, but I was Ben's first fan. I'm just going to say.
Yeah.
When Jacoby and I were doing The Right Reasons, I was really into Ben H. And I was so excited when he became The Bachelor. And I think I would have been aware of this conversation if people were like, Ben's main publicity photo, he has a huge boner. I don't think it was discussed at the time.
Well, it's one of those things where if you look at it, it looks like, bathing suit, there's air in it. Sometimes it pops out and that's what you assume it is. But then when Ben's saying, no, actually, that's my boner.
And then you zoom in. You look at the picture and you're like, oh yeah, it is.
So
Okay.
that was one of my favorite parts. And then the other, just one of the most needed 5 minutes of content ever, is the Bachelor in Paradise fantasy draft.
Oh yeah.
Which, as we've said for years, The Bachelor and The Bachelorette is a feeder system for Bachelor in Paradise now. It is
100%.
It's basically, Zion Williamson is at Duke for a year. It's all leading to the NBA for Zion. And that's what this show is. And we had a Zion this year. We had a Zion level prospect.
Absolutely, Demi. And
Demi.
she came through at the Women Tell All being very extra. And they even nodded to the fact that she'd be in Paradise. So
She was
number 1 draft pick.
She was amazing in the Woman Tell All and had one of the best lines. And for some reason, they didn't sell it. She taunted Colton about how he missed out with her in the fantasy suite.
She was like,
amazing.
I would have given you, I think she's like, I would have given you a great lay or something.
No, she said, you had a great time with me in the fantasy suite. You missed out, or whatever she said. And
amazing.
It was like listening to Michael Jordan taunt the Blazers that they didn't pick him in the 1984 draft.
So good.
What a way. Now, if he had picked her, that would have been quite a way to lose it.
It probably would have been better because she was like, I like to be dominant in the bedroom. I think that would have been good for him.
Yeah, she was like irrational confidence.
Yes, that would have been better for him.
Yeah.
She would have led the way. She would have made it like not awkward because her personality is that way. He should have chosen her specifically for that reason. But
at least keep her for the final 3.
He's not a good game manager. That's been clear this whole time. And a smarter game manager would have been like, I need Demi to help. She should have gone first. And so then he was like primed for 2 and 3.
Well, my rule in life. When somebody is shirtless a lot, they're trying to cover something up. And usually it's the complete lack of a personality. Because and on Siesta Key, which my daughter forces me to watch every week, there's a guy, Garrett, who's similar to Colton. He has no personality and he's shirtless constantly. And like his abs is kind of his calling card.
Sure. He puts his body up front so you don't like think about who he is.
Yeah. It's the move. That's why Kyle is shirtless all the time.
Oh, God damn it.
I'm kidding. Kyle is actually, he has so much personality. He
doesn't need to.
But the people who are shirtless a lot, it's a red flag.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
So what'd you give for the season for a grade?
I gave it a solid B. I thought it was pretty good.
I liked on the show, I thought Rachel broke it down how the first half was a D and then the second half was an A-. I actually would go A for the second half.
Yeah,
I thought
absolutely.
the Fence Jump episode was an iconic Bachelor episode.
Of all time.
This is a show that's been around now for 37 seasons and 15, 16 years, something like that.
I think they said 17 years.
Yeah, that was one of the 5 most, what is the top 5?
Moments ever?
Just like that'll live on. I feel it's that one. It's
that.
The guy switching picks.
You mean Jason Mesnick? Yes, that one. I also think the Jake and Vienna breakup is up there. That was really...
They showed a clip of that on the Women Tell All, and I forgot how dark that was.
I remember watching it.
You're just an evil person!
Yeah, she walked off the set.
She was... I think when What's-Her-Face and Nick just started going at it, and it wasn't even a fantasy suite.
Oh, Caitlin and Nick?
That was fantastic.
Caitlin's the GOAT.
I love that one.
Caitlin is the best lead Bachelor and
my
Bachelorette.
favorite ever. She's one of my favorite reality characters ever.
I completely agree.
And then who was the one who in the water went at the really aggressive one?
Oh, Courtney Robertson and Ben Flanick with the Ocean Coitus.
Ocean Coitus was great.
That season's kind of lost to time. No one really talks about it, but it was a good one.
It was a good one.
It was good because the villain won. No one liked Courtney, and Ben chose her, so it worked out well for the show.
They stayed together for like a week.
A minute. I mean,
the reality is none of these people ever stay together.
Colton has no chance to make it a relationship with any of the women who are left. Let's say he even does like go to Tayshia and Hannah and like, actually I'm in love with you.
He's not picking either of those.
No, I don't think so either. There's no chance for him. And then even there's just no way. There's no way for any of these to work out. But that's like, they're all so young. Like Hannah and Cassie are 23 anyway. Like it shouldn't work out. Like have some more fun first.
Well, as you know, I watch these shows now and I identify with the dad.
Of course.
And I really liked how Cassie's dad handled this whole thing. I would be immediately suspicious of somebody who showed up with a camera crew and asked for my hand in marriage while he was also dating 4 other people. And I know what the show is and how everybody hasn't gone to the fantasy suite yet. I'd be like, guess what? No, fuck off. I'm not giving you permission. Come back after this is over and maybe I'll let you marry my daughter.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Because by the way, I guess he's not paying. I guess the Bachelor, does the Bachelor pay? Who pays for the wedding? They just pay for the ring.
They just pay for the ring, yeah.
Yeah, so the dad's got to pay for the wedding.
Yeah. And
It's like, fuck you, dude. Come back.
And also, like, just date. See how it goes.
Yeah, date. How about date for 6 months and then I'll pay for the wedding?
Totally. I completely agree.
And then that dude flew to Portugal and basically cockblocked the entire relationship.
She was relieved. She needed someone to give her the out. She wanted the out. And her dad did it. He came through for her.
She's very pretty. I'm not sure if she has a personality either. And I think that the no personality combo there is really one for the ages.
Would have been
another. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes two people with no personalities end up together.
Yeah, because you finds like, you know?
Yeah. You just kind of sit there in silence. And
they sort of look alike to me as well. Similar like aesthetics.
Well, she should have taken a long look at Colton's dad.
I don't think he was such a unhandsome older man.
Yeah, but notice not a lot of
hair.
Not a lot of hair in the top there. Yeah. That's where Colton's got about 2 years left. He can be shirtless all he wants, but guess what?
He doesn't have to shave it.
He's
soon.
looking like Ed Harris in about a year.
He already has some hair issues that came through this season, I think.
Yeah. I still can't figure that dude out. He clearly wants to be famous.
100%.
He's
been living in LA during the season. That's rare. Most bachelors like stay in their hometown while it's airing.
Is Colton our bartender 3 years from now at some place in Hollywood?
Dear God, I hope
oh my
so.
God. We're at the San Vicente bungalow.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. And it's like, oh my God, Colton just made me an old fashioned.
I would love that. Can we just hire him to be a bartender at a party?
Yeah, I don't know. Kyle might get threatened. Would you get threatened if we adopted Colton as like our bar? You're kind of our bartender.
I like to be.
Yeah.
We should have more parties.
We just can't have another party ever.
Ever. It's a new era. See you at a third party location for a lovely evening of one glass of wine.
It's a Thursday night party from 8 to 8:20. We'll see you there. Here's your one drink ticket.
3 sips of wine and then you have to leave.
Lord. 2019 is something. All right. So Hulu, you can watch it right now. It is called Can I Steal You for a Second? Congratulations on your EP / streaming star debut.
Thanks, man.
And then Bachelor Party. If you want to hear the reaction to the season finale, which is Monday night, and then there's a show after?
Monday and Tuesday.
So you got podcasts coming Monday and Tuesday as well. Bachelor Party. A long-running franchise. Used to be The Right Reasons. Dave Jacoby, he dumped us, and we kept it going anyway. So.
We've been doing this since 2012.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
And then Jacoby left.
R.I.P. Jacoby.
He left us.
Love Jacoby, though.
He left us. He went to the Miami Heat. All right. Thanks, Juliet.
Thanks, Bill.
All right. Mark Titus is coming up in 1 second. First, the new Microsoft Surface Pro 6 can help you get things done, whether you're on the field or running a business. Take Brian Arakpo and Michael Griffin, 2 former NFL teammates who have opened a cupcake shop. With the Surface Pro, they can do everything they need, from setting schedules to creating promotions for social media and designing new flavors. Plus, it's light, super fast, has a great battery life. Brian and Mike are proving you can tackle all your passions with the power and speed of the new Surface Pro 6. All right, let's bring in Titus. All right, Mark Titus is here from the One Shining Podcast, or One Shining Podcast, the One Shining Podcast.
Either way, OSP with the palm tree through it. That's another way to.
Yeah, nephew Kyle has it tattooed on his arm. He loves it so much. We were talking in the office yesterday about Zion.
Yeah, of course.
Because I feel like I'm on this corner, basically all alone or mostly alone, where I just don't understand how this immediately turned into a referendum on whether the NCAA is evil and why college athletes shouldn't play and they're getting taken advantage of. And I'm like, A, can we just mourn the fact that this guy got hurt 38 seconds into the best college game in like 5 years? And then B, has anyone talking about this ever played sports? Yeah. Explain to America what it's like to be on a college team and how much fun it is.
It's the most fun. It's it was very frustrating because I am pro paying players. I hate the NCAA. Me too. Maybe not as much as a lot of people, but I definitely think it's messed up to have an organization that says we are an amateur enterprise, but at the same time they whore themselves out and to $1 billion TV deals, all this kind of stuff. Like I'm on board with all that. The problem is like the way people react to this stuff puts me in a position where I'm defending the NCAA, and I hate that. You know what I mean? Because it's like people start talking, like people genuinely use the word slavery to describe college athletes, and I just want to bang my head against the wall. Like, you're not helping the cause when you start doing that. But no, and the really frustrating thing is that Zion Williamson is not the guy. He's not the martyr that you want for this. Like Ben Simmons is the guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy. He didn't want to be there. He made it clear.
He was ready to quit on his team and did.
That's the guy that you should have been like, this is a problem that he's, put in the system. Zion wants to be there. He loves Duke. He loves his teammates. Everything we know about the guys, like, I just didn't understand why he became like the martyr. Everyone wanted him to basically be a martyr and like sit out the rest of the year, stick it to the NCAA, which by the way, was never going to work. You know what happens if Zion Williamson announced today, he's like, I'm done for the season. I think it's unfair that I'm not getting paid. This is a crock of shit and I'm boycotting. You know what the NCAA is going to say? Okay, cool. So yeah, we're going to be fine without you, Zion. Thanks for...
Guess what? We're not changing anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for your input though.
It's not like it's actually going to do anything. It was very bizarre and it's very frustrating.
I love the whole when people weigh in and be like, he shouldn't play anymore. He's proven his point.
Yeah.
He's already gotten where he needs to go. He's giving the number one pick. No.
Yeah.
These are his friends that he met in August, and these are all his boys. Yeah. And this is his one chance to ever like try to win a title with these guys. And now if he's hurt, it's another thing. Or if his knee's 90%, not 100%, like, yeah, I see it.
Right.
But they said he's healthy. I mean, I'm sure he can come back maybe next week. He'd be 100%. And the dude wants to play with his buddies and try to win the title and talk about it 40 years from now.
The other thing that's really annoying is this idea that if Zion Williamson turns his ankle, if he comes back against to play Carolina this weekend and he turns his ankle, he's going to be bagging groceries for the rest of his life. It's like how people act like it. Like
he's going to be the number one pick.
Like he's fine. He's going to be, and I guess like my perspective is just being friends with Odin and watching him. He was hurt his whole freshman year. He sat out for the first half of freshman year at Ohio State. There were injury concerns like the whole way. He gets drafted, obviously doesn't play right away. He's got microfracture, gets a million This dude was hurt like his whole career. He's very wealthy. He made a lot of money. He's got a great life. And I know that there's a big difference between like $30 million and $300 million. But I don't know. That just everyone frames it like if his shoe busts open again, Zion Williamson he'll have to get his legs amputated and will never, he'll be making $750 an hour at Ralph's.
Also,
like,
this
that's
isn't
not gonna
football
happen.
where he could have like a severe concussion and he get paralyzed. He could break his leg in 9 places. It's really hard for a basketball player, to get hurt in a situation where if he wasn't on the court for an NCAA team, guess what? He'd be playing basketball anyway.
Right.
It's the same danger every pickup game, every whatever. It's not like he's going to stop playing basketball. I mean, yeah, he's playing against bigger, stronger dudes, when you're playing against North Carolina, but you're still... I actually think you can get more trouble playing in pickup games because those guys don't totally know how to play.
Absolutely.
The worst possible games are when like the football team decides to play.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Those guys don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. I played pickup at Ohio State sometimes with the lacrosse coaches. And oh my God, I feel like I'm going to die. Those guys just throw forearms and stuff. Well,
the other thing with Zion, he's put Duke in a really fascinating position, which is we didn't talk about this yesterday, but I've been thinking about it. Coach K kind of can't win with this.
Yeah.
If I'm Coach K, I actually don't want him to come back because if he comes back, now it's like, Coach K obviously put pressure on him. So he's immediately the villain no matter how this turns out. If Zion somehow got hurt again, or if maybe they misdiagnosed the knee, the downside for Coach K is like incalculable. He's better off like Zion not coming back at all. If I was Coach K, I would be making test after test after test to make sure. Because this would be like the biggest black mark on his legacy if Zion got hurt again.
I think that's why he's probably holding them out right now. I think that's why they're being
super
careful.
You think it's why. It's why.
Because I'm sure like he probably could have come back. Like, I don't know. I'm just speculating, obviously, but the injury does not seem severe whatsoever. It feels like something that he could have probably come back even in the second half of the Carolina game. Like if he really wanted to, he probably could have just kept playing in the Carolina game.
Right. If it was game 7, Warriors, Cavs, he would have been back.
He probably would have been back. And they're holding him out like and there's probably because of what you said. Yeah. Like they know what they're doing. It's really delicate. But yeah, just the conversations around it it's very frustrating. That's the only way I describe it. It's just
I think people want to have the conversations and they look for a catalyst, but sometimes it's the wrong catalyst. But they're like, "Cool, we get to have this conversation." It's like, no, not this time. We're actually just bummed out that Zion got hurt.
Can anybody stop and like ask the kid what he wants? That was the weird thing. Is like, you build these stories that, like it's selfish to, or I don't know. People think it's selfish to make Zion come back and all that kind of stuff. To me, it's selfish to not ask him what he wants and then to just like put this expectation on his back and be like, Zion, we need you to sit out because we're fighting this war against the NCAA. And if you
you don't care about,
that you don't care about,
you'd be rich in a year.
You love your friends. And you made the point. I mean, like these next 5 weeks of Zion Williamson's life and RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish and Trey, all these guys, these next 5 weeks of their lives are going to be the 5 weeks, assuming everything goes as it probably will for Duke, that they will talk about for the rest of their lives. Zion Williamson could win 6 NBA titles and he's probably still good. Like you see with like Jordan. Jordan is tied to Carolina. He loves Carolina. He's like all about Carolina, and he's got the whole Carolina tie. Jordan doesn't live in Chicago right now. Jordan wasn't trying. Like these guys are tied to college. That will always be the case.
I've even found that with the KD podcast he did, and he's like, he loves Texas more than anything. He was there for like 7.5 months.
Zion
Williamson, like that one
team
he was on, those are all like his boys.
He could win 6 NBA titles, and I guarantee when he's like 95 years old and you ask him like his favorite basketball memories, he's going to say, in 2019, me and my friends at Duke, we won the national championship. Like that's the thing that he's going to remember the most. So this idea that...
Well, and the other thing is, and you understand this more than anybody, for a lot of these guys, this is the first time they've ever not lived at home for an extended period of time. Where they've had a nice room and just food available all the times. And I mean, that was something KD talked about where he was like, he had a really rough childhood. He went to Texas. He had a room and a bed, and he had meals that he didn't have to worry about, and was just like really happy there for the first time.
Well, college for these guys is the one time that they make a decision for themselves. There's not their parents or their guardians. The parents or guardians tell them where they're going to go to high school, where they're going to live, all that kind of stuff.
Play for.
And even when they get drafted to the pros, they're drafted into the team, and they're told you're going to be playing for this team. College is the one time that you say, I'm going to pick to play here. I'm going to spend my life here.
And I'm going to be treated like, it's basically like you're staying at a really fun hotel.
Yeah.
And the other thing, we had freshman year, we had a couple of basketball players on our floor, actually.
Yeah.
And it's just hilarious. Like, they're sleeping all the time. They're up late at night. They're eating, like their whole schedule is completely out of whack with everyone else on campus. And then they're there during the winters when everybody else is gone, and they're just kind of locked in with the women's basketball players. That's really that's it who's on campus for 3 weeks. And they're just really bonded in this profound way. They're there all the time. Now, I don't know, maybe the internet has changed that a little bit in video games, but for the most part, you're really just all in it together. So to ask somebody like him to be like, yeah, you should just stop playing. Like, there's no way that's happening.
Yeah, there's no way it's happening. Yeah. Every friend I have from Ohio State, and this is going to sound sad, but it's not. It just speaks to like the experience of being on a team. Every single person I still talk to from my 4 years at Ohio State had something to do with the basketball team.
Yeah.
I don't have a single friend that I was like in an accounting class with or like I met at a frat party and we became buddies or anything like that. I just didn't have time for that. I was with the basketball guys always. So it's like managers, coaches, players, and like those are all my college friends that I have.
And you and
I'm
I
really
both,
close with all of them. So,
and we had the same role on our teams, although you were way more successful than I was. But the bus rides was really where we shone.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So the bus rides, the ball busting, the chronicling, whatever the fuck was happening. I'm sure these dudes are together constantly. And even though RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish, and those are going to be 3 of the top 5 picks, I'm sure he's just like buddies with those dudes. It also seems like Zion's just like the greatest guy.
He's awesome.
He just tries really hard. He has no ego whatsoever. All he wants to do is win basketball games. There's nothing else going on.
I've been waiting for like something to rip on him about, and it just does it, just because
he's perfect.
Yeah, he's just kind of perfect. It's like
he checks every box
it's
I've ever wanted.
Duke is like the worst thing about him, but I mean, at this point, it's like I don't know.
But when he turned your partner Tate, who's diehard UNC.
Tate's losing his mind, yeah.
Tate's losing his mind. Follow Tate on social media. There's been some mind losing. Tate's Instagram is off the rails. It's all because Duke, the real object of his affection is Zion Williamson, who's under Coach K's spell.
Yeah.
He's torn.
Yeah.
Poor Tate.
So this whole idea about him sitting out, do you think there's a correlation with the NBA and the Anthony Davis and the, I know you've talked about this a lot, and you and Russillo, I love you guys for it, are very much like, can we pump the brakes on this player empowerment stuff?
Yeah.
Is there a relation to that, do you think, in terms of like people wanting Zion to sit out? Because I brought this up to you. I feel like the future of basketball is everybody sits out and like there's just no basketball games.
It's just a staring contest.
No one realizes that there's no games. It's just we get shots of like the NBA players walking in with their whatever they're wearing and they're holding their little handbags, and we get those shots of them on Instagram. And then we tweet about stuff and trade rumors and all that kind of stuff. And games are like never actually played. Guys are sitting out for their next contracts. College players are sitting out for their draft positions.
Well, we both like Monday Night Raw. It's basically Monday Night Raw. It's just the entrances.
It's like, like Brock Lesnar, Brock Lesnar never wrestles. He just shows up and just stands there. It's like that sort of thing.
You think guys should have managers? Like Kyrie could have a manager? Kyrie's manager comes out. There's been a lot of talk about Kyrie Irving and what kind of player he is.
That's really, I don't know. It's really frustrating because we're on the same page with this. It's just when I was growing up, and again, I'm going to defend you because people are going to rip you for being like an old dude who's out of touch or whatever. I'm the same age as a lot of the NBA guys.
Yeah.
You know, like this is my generation of guys that are in the league. And it's just weird to me because these thoughts like never, and obviously I'm not as good as those guys and all that kind of stuff. But like when we were growing up, like I don't remember people talking about money with basketball. It wasn't like even Greg, being friends with him, he was never like, okay, if I do X, Y, Z, if I go to Ohio State versus going to Indiana State, then maybe I'll make more money or maybe I'll sign with Nike instead of Puma or, you know, like these thoughts just never crossed our mind. It was just like, I love playing basketball. I'm willing to play basketball. And if I'm lucky, I'll make some money. And that was it. And that's like all anyone thought about. And now it's like every single decision, this isn't true of everybody, but like, it's like the public thinks that every decision should be driven by dollars and cents.
Or in situations.
Yeah.
Like Anthony Davis is 25 and he's like, it's time to think about my legacy. It's like, is it really?
Yeah. Yeah.
How about this? Win a couple playoff series.
It's
just make the best of what team you're on right now. Like you're going to go to LA with LeBron, who's in his 18th year and is visibly not the same guy that he was 3 years ago. And that's going to be good for your legacy.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know. It's very confusing for me to
think people get bad advice. I think that's also part of this where you have the right person come in and be like, man, it'll be you and LeBron. And then we're going to get this guy and Klay Thompson's going to come. Or what? It'll be awesome. And then Aunt Dave's like, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. We should do that.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing with college. Like, and colleges kind of figured it out where you can't transfer. Maybe the NBA should have transfer rules. We have to sit out for a year and not get paid.
It feels like the NBA, it really honestly feels like we're 10 years away from just doing a redraft every single year. We're like, guys, just sign 1 year contracts. And then you just like shuffle up the entire player pool. And it's like, all right, redraft for the next season. Well, maybe just shake them all up every year.
You were on that famous AAU team.
Yeah.
Who was on the team? I always make you tell this.
Conley was a point guard, Eric Gordon shooting guard, Daquan Cook small forward, Josh McRoberts power forward, Greg Oden center.
But no Gordon Hayward.
Gordon was on my high school team.
Yeah.
He was 2 years younger than me. So he's on my high school team.
So that AAU team, how long did it stay together?
We were together like 5 years, like 8th grade through, and then all through high school.
So nowadays, you'd be together in 8th grade, and then in 9th grade, Josh McRoberts would get lured to this other AAU team, and then you and Odin would go somewhere else, and it would split up.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I think that's the NBA now.
Yeah.
These guys are being trained from age 12, 13 to just be thinking, what's next for me? Oh, I should go here. Well, I'm going to go, oh, that guy wants me to play. I'm going to go this way.
See, and for someone like you, that might not be that crazy because to you, you're kind of like a generation removed and you're like, that just must be how kids are. For me, it's like, am I that old? Because like, I don't feel like
2 generations removed.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think you're one.
I'm like one generation. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm that old. I know I'm older, but like, it wasn't that long ago.
But I don't even think it's a big deal to these guys.
It happened that fast.
Yeah, this is just how it goes now. I was on that team. Now I'm on this team. And that's why we keep talking about it on the pod. But I was really interested that Adam Silver was so passionate about it because I saw him right before and I'm like, I really want to talk about this. He's like, great. I've been dying to talk about this. I'm like, all right, cool. But I think they thought these shorter contracts were going to solve all these problems and they inadvertently created these other problems. And I'm really not sure which way is better because the longer contracts, they trap people into bad contracts and they're bitter, or trap the team into you're paying Damon Stoudemire $90 million a year for 7 years. And by year 3, you're like, holy shit, we got 5 years left. And that was what the 2000s were like. So now it's short contracts, but all that means is movement constantly.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you fix it.
I don't know. This is, again, as a guy who cheers for middle America teams, the NBA is so disheartening, all the movements and all that stuff. I know I bring this up all the time, but
well, you had LeBron left twice.
What hope do the Cavs have? What hope do the Pacers ever have?
You're one of the only Cavs fans that I know, or Ohio people, that actually feels like LeBron kind of screwed them over the second time.
Yeah, that's very bizarre. Yeah, it's very bizarre that Ohio was like applauding him as he left.
We went to his last game together.
We did. We were there game 4.
And you were upset that the Cleveland fans were like so kind of passively thankful, but kind of knew he was going to leave.
It was really strange.
It was kind of sad.
It's not that you shouldn't be happy about the title that he brought to Cleveland. It's more that like he came back with this, like the whole second stint was like, I'm coming home. This is home. This will always be home. This is where I want my family to be.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about last time. And then he started doing like the college thing. He's like, I went to Miami for college. I never got to go to college. So Miami was kind of my college and I was there for 4 years, but now I'm back home and this is where I want to be.
Film the 1.5 minute Nike commercial.
Yeah. And I get it. Like they were a mess. The team was horrible. He was carrying them on his, I get all that. It was just like, I don't know. This is weird. It's just weird that Ohio was like, okay, thanks man. Thanks for the one title.
Well, especially he left them with just in wreckage.
Yeah.
With these terrible contracts that he made them sign, and they were missing a bunch of first round picks that he made them trade.
We did when we were doing our live podcast. We were in Columbus, which isn't Cleveland, but like there's a symbiotic relationship between the two cities. A lot of Cavs fans, and I asked the people about LeBron. I was like, "Do we still like LeBron in Ohio?" I'm not really sure. And the place erupted. They're like, "Yeah, we love him," and everyone. Yeah. And I was like making the same points, and they're just like, "We don't care. We want a title." But it is funny though. I wonder. The people I know, they're like diehard Cleveland fans. They were like, we just want one title. We want to experience one title in our lives. So the Cavs win it. And then there does feel like these last couple of years, it's like the shift has gone, okay, so the Cavs won, but what we really want is a Browns title. And now like everyone's on the Baker Mayfield
funny how
thing.
that works.
Yeah. It's like the Cavs thing was nice, but that doesn't count. We really want Baker Mayfield. So
it does speak to what an incredible achievement that 2016 title was, that Cleveland was so beaten down and just discouraged and despondent and traumatized, and got to the point, which the Red Sox fans got to last decade, of just like, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to die and I'll never see a title and my life sucks. And then it actually happened. And they were so grateful and happy that he left 2 years later and basically did a 180 on every single thing he said when he showed back up.
Exactly.
And they're like, thanks, man. No, good luck, man. Good luck in LA. Good luck on a worse team in LA than you're playing with now.
It's so weird. I was not raised a Cavs fan. I don't really care that much about the Cavs. So I don't want to.
You care about Ohio.
I care about Ohio a lot.
You're an Ohio fan.
So, like I'm not speaking from a place of authority on like what a Cavs fan feels, but it's just like as a guy who's around it, I'm like, it's sort of not the reaction I anticipated from the diehard Cavs fans.
It was one of the weirdest games I think I've ever been to.
Yeah.
It really was.
Very bizarre.
The energy was weird. The crowd gave up immediately, and everyone around us was like, well, he's going to leave.
Yeah.
This is it. Get a picture of him. He's gone.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, really? He hasn't said anything yet. And everybody was just out, but not mad at all. There was no bitterness at all.
It was like I don't know. I don't blame them. I would do the same thing. We suck. This city sucks. We suck. Man, I love you, LeBron. Thanks for the title. I mean,
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
It's like if sports are a marriage, this was like you were married to somebody. They left, married some guy, some plastic surgeon in Miami for 4 years. Then we're like, I'm ready to come home. Let's get back together with the kids. Great. We'll buy a house. It'll be awesome. And then 4 years later, like, all right, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to LA. I'm like, oh, that's cool. We have one more kid. It's great. Now we got 3 kids.
I don't know.
This is great, man.
But it is working out for LeBron in LA. He's it's working out well for him. It's working out for all parties. Kyrie seems happy. LeBron seems happy. Cleveland seems happy.
Nobody's happy. I want to say poor LeBron, but he was 100% responsible. But watching last night when he's hugging these dudes after he breaks MJ's record that he probably barely even has met a couple times or interacted with, and the crowd's just kind of, great job, LeBron. And what that would have meant if he had done it in Cleveland.
Oh my God.
That would have been a 10-minute standing ovation. So maybe that's when he must have been like, shit. So who do you have for the tournament? You're coming back before March Madness, but you think it's top heavy? General
thoughts is it's top heavy. Duke, if we're assuming Zion's back, which I think we should, because I think he's going to come back and Duke will be fine. Duke, Gonzaga, Virginia are all kind of the top tier. I think Carolina's pretty good. I think Kentucky's okay. But this definitely feels like a year where a 1 or a 2 seed's going to win it, which I know that like if you don't really follow the NCAA tournament, you'd say, doesn't that happen every year? And I don't think that's necessarily the case. There's some years where we're going in where I'm like, I don't know, this is a crapshoot. I don't believe that strongly in the ones. This one is a year that like the teams at the top are definitely better than everyone else. For me,
Gonzaga 11-2.
I think they're the best team in the country. Yeah. We watched them beat Duke. They're the only team that's beat Duke when Duke's at full strength. Yeah.
Kentucky 12-1.
Kentucky,
Carolina 12-1, and also no credit at all for destroying Duke in that Zion game. I know the energy shifts happen and all that, but North Carolina played really well in that game.
I think that's going to actually help Carolina because they're
nobody believes
peaking.
In us.
Yeah, but no one's believing in them. They're like they're playing well, but they don't have like a target on their back because like there's always the asterisk next to Zion. And Kay's saying he's not going to play Saturday, so it'd be awesome if they beat Duke again, and it's still like it doesn't really count type thing. But Carolina's really good. I think Carolina will be a third one. I think the ACC is going to have 3 1 seeds, which is pretty wild.
ACC, the tournament's in Charlotte this year.
Oh, yeah.
That's good for North Carolina, right?
Yeah, well, generally, yeah. But I think they get a lot of, it's usually like in Greensboro, so they get like a good crowd anyway.
Yeah.
But
it's going to be a fun one.
Virginia's really, really good. I will say that like a lot of people are counting out Virginia because they lost to a 16 seed last year.
Yeah.
Which was bad.
It is a scarlet letter.
But they didn't have their best player. They didn't have DeAndre Hunter, who's probably going to be a top 10 pick. He was on the team all year last year, got hurt for that game. I don't know. If you listen to our podcast, I've like made this point a billion times, but that does matter. Like they still shouldn't have lost to a 16 seed, but that guy is that good that like, I don't know. That game almost doesn't even matter to me as I'm filling out my bracket this year because I think Virginia is really, really good. So,
who's my favorite 2019 college basketball player that I haven't fallen in love with yet? That's not Zion. That I'm going to fall in love with when I watch these tournaments.
If you catch him in the right time, I would say Kobe White on Carolina, their point guard. I love him. He's a little streaky though, but he could drop like. I mean, he had 34 the other day. He's fat. I think you'd really like him. He's like 6'4" and fast and can shoot and doesn't hesitate. He plays like an NBA player and he's a freshman. He's a one and done guy. So I think you'd really like him.
Do you like?
He's got a big afro.
You like Morant or no?
Yeah, he's good. I don't even know if he'll make the tournament though. That's the problem. He's a good player, yeah.
But he could win. He could win his league though, and then
he could win the league.
The league tournament.
Yeah, but the Belmont is like kind of better than them. That's the issue. We really need like 3 or 4 spots for teams that just get automatic, like a storyline automatic bid for a guy like him. It's like your team's not that good, but like, goddamn, we really want to see Ja Morant.
Can we just sneak you in?
Can we just figure this out?
Ben Simmons would have been another good
Ben
one
Simmons
that year.
Another one. It's just like, come on, we got to.
If you're going to be a top 4 lottery pick, you have to be in the tournament.
You automatically get in. Yeah,
that's a good rule.
Like that. Yeah,
I like that. Is there a heat check guy that I'm going to fall in love with?
Oh man!
By the way, I was finally right on Buddy Hield. It took like 5 years, and I gave up on him and turned on him.
I mean, Marcus Howard would be the guy at Marquette. He's a shooter that just like has no conscience and will. He's a big time scorer. I think you would like him a lot. They just lost though the other day.
Marquette 40-1.
Yeah, I don't think they're not good enough to win the national title, but he's good enough to like they're good enough to beat. They're good enough to win a game or two that they have no business winning just because he goes for like 40 something, right. So all
right,
that's a good.
Well, we'll hear all of it on One Shining Podcast.
Yeah,
Mark Titus, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Hey, let's take a break to talk about Zoom. When you use Zoom, every day is a little bit better. Zoom Video Communications, the web's best reviewed video conference service. It's used by millions to meet one-on-one or hundreds at a time. With Zoom video conferencing, you can connect face-to-face with anyone across town or around the world using flawless videos, clear audio, and instant sharing of files, videos, anything. And you can connect through any device, desktop, laptop, tablet, smartphone, conference room system, whatever you want. Zoom video conferencing, Zoom Rooms, Zoom video webinars, Zoom phone. I wish they had a Zoom podcast. I just could add my next 3 guests. We could have just zoomed it in. Zoom phone puts state-of-the-art tech at your fingertips, lets you do business at the speed of Zoom. And if you're not using Zoom video communications, I only have one question. Why not? What's wrong with you? I'll make it super easy for you. Visit Zoom online. Set up a free account today. Free. Try the most affordable and reliable video communication solution on the market. I have actually used Zoom in the last few weeks, and it was shockingly easy. Meet happy with Zoom. Check it out right now. All right. This is fun. We're doing the young edition of The Ringer. Even Isaac Lee producing this segment.
Yeah.
All the youngins are here. Haley O'Shaughnessy, Danny Chau,
Hello.
Kevin O'Connor.
What's
Lots of NBA stuff going on. Kevin just came back from Sloan. We were talking about Sloan Conference before we came on, which I feel like has evolved and also stayed exactly the same. It's like 2,000 people. I'm not sure why half the people are there. Like, people can't love numbers this much, and yet they love it. They just love it. It's unbelievable.
People eat it up, Bill. I think the panels are at least interesting. I think for young kids, a lot of high school kids and college kids trying to get their foot in the door.
A lot of star power. You got some GMs and players now.
So
you've never been though, Danny, right?
I've never been. But one question, has like the fashion sense gotten any better in the past 10 years?
No.
What's the typical fit? A suit? Is the casual fan going in a suit?
It's a wide range of business casual. You'll see
it's a
someone
lot
with
of
sweaters over, button ups, or sometimes you see people just full out fitted suit. It varies.
I wasn't dressed up enough because when they tweeted out the video, and I was just wearing like whatever. And my dad and my uncle Don read all the replies and like, thanks for getting dressed up, Simmons. My dad like loves that stuff. He loves whenever I'm getting insulted anywhere. So he thought that was funny.
Is that why ESPN cut you off?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay, that's actually really funny.
This turned into a 24-hour like sports story, and it's like I thought it was funny. I just assumed. I assumed they were worried about using my likeness or something. I was just making fun of Jalen because it's Jalen's show. You hear my voice at one point, but then it turned into this whole thing, and people were like, unbelievably petty decision by ESPN. I was like, I don't know if it was that complicated, but they put me on The Jump. So I get along really well with ESPN.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a million years ago. It's fine. I mean,
it really feels like it.
It really does feel like Danny was there for the last days.
I was there for the final 3 weeks. It was
it was rough.
A debacle.
I still have the Grantland icon on my phone. But yeah, it was a long time ago, but it also was a really long time ago. I don't know. I don't have any bitterness left. Anyway, let's talk basketball. You want to talk about the Celtics first? You want to talk about LeBron?
I think let's open with LeBron.
Okay.
That news just broke.
So the news just broke that LeBron James, what do we call it? A minutes
restriction.
28 to 32? Was that?
Minutes restriction and won't play
Something
back-to-backs.
like that,
Load management.
What is the reason for this?
Tanking.
Absolutely.
Oh, I think that they said health. I mean, obviously they said health.
The real reason's tanking because right now the Lakers are in that slot where they have about a 6% chance of going into the top 4. But if they just lose a couple more games and slide into that 9 spot, they could have around 20% chances. So they could essentially triple their odds of landing a top 4 pick, which would ultimately give them a better asset potentially for Anthony Davis.
So you think this is all Davis driven?
I think at this point, now that they're not in the playoffs, it kind of has to be. And I think as KOC was talking about, bringing those odds up, because with the draft kind of lottery smoothing out of the odds, basically the best spot to be in is from 7, 8, 9, because that's where your odds actually doubled from last year's. And so you're getting like 8, 9% chances of getting the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and even
so the new rule led to more tanking.
They did it again.
I thought it was funny
mediocre
because
teams.
last night the Mavs won, and now all of a sudden, like, they're very close to getting into a really good position to keep their pick,
which
that
is
they
important.
traded
It's
to
top
Atlanta.
5.
Yeah, which I thought was hilarious. It being the Mavs, because Cuban last year was like openly said that he was tanking on Dr. J's podcast,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden he might end up benefiting from these flattened odds.
Haley, you mean the Mavs lost?
The bet.
You said won.
Yeah, they lost, which I guess now technically we could say
You mean
kind of a
they
win.
won by losing?
they won by losing.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think that they're tanking. But now I don't know why you wouldn't. They're pretty close to Memphis.
The Mavs are in the worst spot for tanking of all of these because they want Luka to win Rookie of the Year, so you can't like put him on a minutes restriction. But you basically have to. I mean, they're a threat to play Mark Cuban in the last 5 games potentially as power
It
forward.
would be a great move by Dallas.
Be smart. Like, we're just gonna try this. Sell some
spot
tickets.
up in the corner. Yeah, he could
Cuban
shoot like
jersey.
22% from 3 or something like that.
What's your other than the Knicks? What's your dream team to win Zion?
Um,
Because I have a surprising pick.
I think
Is it the
Atlanta.
Celtics?
Atlanta would be really
Mine
fun.
is Atlanta as
Really?
well.
Wow.
Yeah, that'd be great.
John Collins.
That would
and
be
Trae
really
Young.
fun.
Ooh.
It's Proto Warriors.
Yeah.
You basically build the entire template all over again.
It'd be really beautiful to watch that squad. A lot of guys who can handle the ball, space.
I think the most surprising two things that have happened this year, and I could just sense from our Slack, is how many of us have really enjoyed the Kings and the Hawks.
Yeah.
The
And
Kings are so
the Kings
much
are
fun.
they're so lovable.
Last night, I mean, for us, that was such a fun game. It's a
I
good
actually
game.
thought it was going to play out with the Celtics losing. We should
Once he fouled,
they've
but he healed.
lost
Once
those
Gordon
kind of
Hayward
games
fouled
all
him,
year.
but he healed, I thought they were going to lose.
Yeah, they actually won that one. So KOC, since you wrote about the Celtics on Monday, did you give your Zion pick, by the way? You think it's Atlanta too?
I mean, I would go Atlanta. Honestly, like there are a couple teams, so I just want them to be good again.
Wizards is worst case scenario.
Wizards is worst case because then the guy's stuck there
that's a
forever.
disaster.
That's basically what I predicted in my tanking column earlier this week. I was like, the Wizards actually are in a spot where their odds are so high compared to where it should be that I can totally see Knicks fans losing their minds because
That'd
the
be
Wizards
rough.
jump up.
That'd
It's
be a
terrible.
rough one. And the Suns, just because they
would
don't
have-
deserve it at this point.
I think
Like,
and
just stop.
you can't play those two together. Like
Yeah,
you can't play
that'd be
Aiden
weird.
and Zion together. I
They'd
don't
probably
I
trade
don't know.
it.
I would like to see those guys together.
KOC is such
I would
an
love
Aiton
that.
stan.
Well, I mean, Aiton's gotten better defensively every single
Yeah.
month. He's having an extremely efficient offensive
Some
season.
clutch moments on really important games.
Hey, they did win the two games against Giannis and LeBron.
True.
With
Yeah, they
Ayton
beat the
as
Lakers.
a primary defender
It's true.
against those guys.
You're really shrinking the court though for a lot of their shooters, you know?
I know, and
neither of them can shoot.
and that's one of the problems with that combination for sure.
Don't you want Zion to go to a better front office situation?
Yes.
Yes,
I mean,
definitely,
I want him to
yeah.
play with Luca. That's my alternate take.
And
so
KP.
Zion, KP, and Luca would
my
be out of
goodness.
control.
It would
Oh,
be
geez.
like alternate dimension Knicks, which is exactly what I wanted to see. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's funny.
The Mavs are
Bizarro
somehow in
Knicks.
a really great position for this summer because think about it. They have KP. They have a chance at this pick, right? It's most likely not going to be Zion. They have $30 million in cap space.
Yeah.
Like they are in a very, very good position.
And
going
then a
forward.
year from now, they just have all cap space. I guess they'd have to pay Porzingis at that point, right?
They have a year
Yeah.
to convince him to stay around. I'd want to
Or-
play with Luka
or
Doncic.
20, or maybe you punt that space at 2021, and like that's the year you're chasing Giannis. But like both Atlanta and Dallas are in interesting spots though because of the years they've had and their young players excelling. They could try to accelerate their rebuild by trying to be getting guys this summer with the cap space that they have.
So they're in a good shape with Porzingis, and I think they saw this where you're the team after the Knicks. It's like the relationship after somebody's had a terrible relationship, and you're just the next person they dated, and you seem amazing. You're just like, hey, I got you a gift. Like, what? You got me a gift? This is great.
text back like
minimum.
within
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah. And with Porzingis, he's like, wow, look at these lockers.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Whoa, you have food before the game?
Cuban can really play that up too. He knows how to host
Totally.
a player. Yeah.
Hey, I got equipment. Why don't you use my jet to fly here? Like he's doing
I rented
all
out
that
this
stuff.
club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just quickly on Boston, because I talked about Boston way too much the other day, but I just want to mention some intel since you wrote your piece. So there's this legendary plane ride that apparently happened on the way to Golden State. And I think there's a chance, I don't want to get too caught up in it, like in the hope of it, but I think it really might have changed the season. It started with Kyrie talked to Brad Stevens, and they had a big heart-to-heart about everything. And then Kyrie asked to talk to the whole team, and they had this huge life talk on the plane. And Kyrie apparently was like apologizing to everybody and like, I'm not handling this well. I'm sorry, I'm not doing this. He said, I've been a dick, and just kind of did the whole thing and led to all these conversations. And that's why that Warriors game, it was like, what team is this? They're like cheering for each other. They're high-fiving. So will it last for a week? What do you think? Will it last for, is this a new, what do you think, Haley?
I
Is
mean,
this a short-term thing or
so
should I
what's
be
the situation?
excited?
What's the actual situation with Kyrie? What's the situation with everyone's health? Even if they're all getting along, do we all agree now that Gordon Hayward is completely recovered man?
No.
And what's Kyrie's durability? There are so many questions
a
other
question.
than
Al
just if
Horford,
they
you-
get along.
You didn't mention Al Horford either.
Exactly.
He
Getting
didn't look,
along
I don't know
is
if he
the
can play
first
back to
thing.
backs anymore.
Or at
Or
least
at like the level that he's at.
Right. And like if they get the Sixers in the first round, they need Al Horford.
And we own the Sixers on that one. Sixers. Bring the Sixers on. It's that frisky Pacers team that scares me. That'd be like a classic losing to a team that you have 3 times as much talent than and who just plays better and likes each other more.
Is there a precedent for this type of like Pacers team to actually make it to like the second round and scare teams?
So the Artest Melee season, They beat the Celtics in 05. And if you go back to my ESPN archives, I'm like losing my mind. We had like 9 of the best 11 players in the series. And it was like Rick Carlisle, Reggie Miller, and Jermaine O'Neal, and just a bunch of like whatevers. And they just had better chemistry.
Well, I mean, technically, wouldn't that series be kind of like what Boston pulled
with
off
Philly
last year?
Right.
Because Boston has the better talent on their teams.
Well, that was the fluke of last year's. The Philly should have made the finals. And they just kind of weren't ready to do whatever it took in that series. But Boston was certainly not better than them.
Are you really not scared of Philadelphia at all?
I'm not. I'm scared of everybody. But, I mean, the team that I just don't think they can beat is Toronto. Sorry, Danny. I'm just queuing you up. Putting on a platter.
I need them to make the finals.
That Toronto matchup is just frightening. The problem with Toronto is just the lineups that they just have answers for anything. You know, They can put that bigger one, they can put a smaller one, they can go athletic.
I'm not entirely convinced of their reserves though. Jeremy Lin hasn't looked great. Norman Powell has kind of fallen off over the past few weeks. I just wish they had one more like competent 3-and-D wing.
3-and-D wing.
Yeah. Like
well, now it's too late, right? Now the playoff thing is passed.
It's too late. But, you know.
And that's where Boston's interesting, where, you know, you mentioned how is it fixed now? How long does this last? Who knows? Like, this has happened over the course of the full season with them, where they've had like losing streaks and then they turn it around for 4 or 5 games and then they go back the other way. So this could just be another high for them. But, you know, I get back to what Kyrie has said multiple times this season, where he said after Game 70 is all that matters. That's when you lock in and you put aside your ego and you're just doing what's best for the team. If Kyrie's right about that, well, Boston, I think, does have the same, you know, the advantages that Toronto does, with the ability to match up and play different styles. But the chemistry aspect that has not been there all season long, and I think it's probably unreasonable to expect it to be there now, though that plane ride thing is interesting.
Could be a legendary plane ride.
I don't know.
Remember that time Kyrie and the plane, man, the whole season turned? We won 28 straight. That was unbelievable.
Every time I think about the Celtics, though, and I feel like when you play in the regular season, there are so many distractions. But when you play in the playoffs, you're literally only focusing on one team. And I think that's what will help the Celtics, where they don't have these, you know, other distractions that they have to tend to.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
You know?
Plus, Haley's on my side, at least, on the Ringer Slack with the Celts, because we have a Louisville guy.
Terry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your dude, Terry.
I mean, I'll always be cheering for him.
Haley went to Louisville, in case you don't understand what that means.
But
you have some good ones in the playoffs this year.
But we do. But Terry's kind of been a little bit of Kyrie's problem, right?
In what way?
So I don't know if the Celtics' ultimate success would be Terry's success. And on your last podcast, you said that you thought that they made a mistake not trading him early on.
Well, I think
so I got to look out for Terry.
It would have uncluttered the whole. Well, KLC reported Phoenix.
They've
gone to Phoenix for 40 minutes a game.
He didn't go to Phoenix.
That wouldn't have been great.
That would have been a cool backcourt. Rozier and Booker. I know I'm a Suns stan over here.
It's like, but then when do you hear of this guy again? You know, when are you watching him again and you're not on like somebody's league pass or streaming it?
They might be the team that pays him this summer, though.
I still like Terry. Like, even he ran the team last night, and he's a good defensive player. He obviously is somebody that needs to play 40 minutes a game, and
he's
just
one of those
isn't
guys.
great. And some guys are like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, his motor never stops going. That's like when I remember when he was getting drafted and everyone was talking about his size, I would always point to the rebounds. Because if someone like that scrappy is going in for every rebound against super tall guys, you know you can count on that.
Yeah, and he has like a 6'10" wingspan.
He's an elite rebounder for his position for sure.
The listeners are mad now that I got you guys talking about the Celtics game. Just quickly, East pick, and then we'll talk LeBron. East pick right now.
To get out of the East?
Yeah,
I'm going Bucks. I'm going Bucks.
The Raptors.
Bucks.
I'm going Toronto right now. Oof. But I'm going to I will change my mind 7 times.
I probably will too.
Here's what worries me about Milwaukee. It's a lot of Eric Bledsoe, and he's been awesome. He's been really good, but I still feel like Game 6 on the road, down 3-2, down 5 with 7 minutes left, and Eric Bledsoe's just got, guys, I got this, and I could see it unraveling.
I think Charks actually, he brings this up all the time, but the Bucks' acquisitions of Mirotic and then Pau Gasol has really worried him. In just the idea that, like, you're just burying DJ Wilson, who is your most capable, switchable young defender. And when you don't have the confidence of him in the playoffs, and you're trotting out these old guys who you know what they're capable of, you don't know what DJ Wilson's capable of.
You would much rather have Mirotic than DJ Wilson.
Well, sure. But like Pau Gasol.
Pau Gasol, I did not agree with.
I would assume he's gonna be like, in case Brook Lopez, gets hurt or something like that. Like in case of emergency, I would be stunned if he's part of like the regular rotation. That's what I'm worrying about. I know.
A part of me wonder if that was just a chemistry acquisition. Because
Getting a
he's just a good guy, old guy. He's been in a million games. If it's game 4 of some playoff series, Lopez gets 5 fouls in the third quarter, and then you're like, all right, this guy's been there, we could put him out.
Right, because
where you don't know that with DJ Wilson.
Is there anyone else on the Bucks roster who has won a championship?
No, I mean there's guys in that. I don't know if anyone in that roster has even been in Eastern or Western Finals, right? I mean, Bledsoe, the Clippers, they never got to the Western Finals. A lot of inexperience. I like. We'll see if they hold up. The big question with Toronto, and I think if they can stay healthy, that would be the one to fear, is just Lowry's body and Gasol's body.
Sure.
And whether those, once you get into every
and Kawhi's too,
and Kawhi, but he's looked pretty good
on load management all year.
I will say, watching that Celtics Warriors game, I was shocked by the Warriors, how slow they seemed. I know they didn't have Clay, but just in general, like. It's just not the same kind of athletic team that they had. And I think part of it goes with the bench and just the bench they have this year. But
Right. Well, I was also going to say, do you think any of that has to do with Boogie?
I think a lot of it has to do with Boogie. I think he looked good initially, but now he looks slow to me.
What was
the Celtics were torching him in that game.
I wonder if Boogie looking good was like the initial shock of like him returning and looking solid, when really his solid is still inferior to what he was before.
Yeah.
And it might have empowered him.
Well, inferior,
kind of
but also
take
just
on
like
more.
you have to think about how it fits. I mean, yeah, he can shoot threes, which automatically makes people think you'd be a good fit on the Warriors. But if you're inherently kind of a slower, bigger guy, now coming off of an Achilles injury, you're not going to be able to keep up.
He's going to get attacked relentlessly in the playoffs. And like that game against the Celtics, what did you think about the comment by KD after the game? Just the little, shot at Kerr in a way saying,
that was weird.
Yeah, that was odd, huh?
That was so weird.
Yeah, saying
I
thought it was all
could
about
not figure
joy.
that out.
Yeah.
What is the point of attacking your coach or making that kind of remark about your coach? Is that geared toward the media when you're asking, like, can you guys just get it straight? Or is that like a Kerr thing?
I don't know. I think he was just kind of being a smartass. Like that was. I didn't really think much of it.
If somebody at
I'd
the
be so
Ringer did
fed
that
up.
to like fantasy, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Why did Danny say that?
Yeah.
Why did he throw fantasy under the bus?
I feel like I would
What's
totally
happening?
do
Let's
that.
have a meeting.
I feel like I would totally do
Meeting
that.
right now. I want to know what happened. Yeah, my fear with Boogie was that we've never seen a 290-pound guy come back from this injury. It just seemed at least a tiny bit unrealistic. And, when you watch them in 2015 and 16, and they're just so athletic and so fast. And then he brings a different element that I really liked when I initially watched it. And the more I watch it, defensively, it just seems like it makes them a little more plotting, which I'm not sure is good for them.
Are they still your finals pick though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What is the one thing at this point that could tear them apart
Injuries.
and stop them from?
Injuries and just
Yeah.
the chemistry. The red flags for them are just, we've seen other teams in this situation where there's all these red flags and we just overlook them because of the pedigree. But that's usually when bad stuff happens. That's when like the 04 Lakers against the Pistons happen. And, it's.
Which two guys not getting along is the worst case scenario? I think it has to be Katie and Draymond, right?
Draymond and anybody is the worst. Yeah, Draymond and anybody.
I think with those two guys, maybe it's already there. And it would be like KD and like Steph or something like that, if that were to happen.
I don't think you can feud with Steph, though.
Yeah, he's just a grown up.
I don't think Steph
He's a
and
dad.
Steph's
He
a
has
grown-up.
kids.
Yeah, he's like normal.
Even if it does have like negative feelings towards KD, he would put it aside when he's actually
Yeah, he
on the court,
wouldn't care.
rendering it irrelevant. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And Clay is
That
the
makes
most
sense.
popular guy in the league. Like literally everybody loves that. dude.
Everything bounces off Clay.
So, I mean, really, Draymond and Boogie would be, like two countries in the Middle East deciding that they didn't like each other and everybody going, oh God, oh no, please
Do we
get along.
Do we know the state of their friendship right now? They
Seems
like,
good.
Yeah,
He came to his defense.
Yeah.
Like this week.
The state of this union seems good.
But Boogie is one of those fly off the handle.
Right.
And Draymond's a little like this too, where they fly off the handle and they kind of unravel for like 10 seconds and can't kind of lose control. My son is like this too. So I'm well
How old is your
aware
son?
that my son's 11, unfortunately. So you would say who's biggest threat to Golden State right now? We all say Houston?
Yeah.
What is the
I had
What's the Paul
OKC 2
George
weeks ago, and I
situation?
think.
what's going on with Paul George? Do we know?
Do we know?
I don't think there's like an official update about the state of his health right now. So
Did they
I will
cover it
go
in the
Houston.
Celtics plane ride or no? Did they talk about? Did they fix Paul George's body or no? What is exactly wrong with him?
Oh my god, I'd have to look it up.
I
can look it up right
honestly
now.
don't know.
It's very mysterious.
I just know that it's mysterious. Yeah.
KOC knows. He doesn't want to say. KOC, you know.
I don't
Fucking
know.
tell us.
I don't know.
Tell us.
But I would say Houston because I'm just thinking about putting James Harden against DeMarcus Cousins in pick and roll and him and Chris Paul. On
Actually,
switches
I
against Draymond.
honestly don't think Cousins could
sorry.
play in that series.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to play that much.
You'd have to
Yeah.
like basically take him off the court.
You'd put him pick and roll every single possession.
My two fears with Houston, other than all the obvious ones, were Harden, the physical toll of this season. What would he have left for those last 4 rounds? And then I just watching Chris Paul. It's like, is Chris Paul elite anymore? Can he still be the number 2 scorer? And then you watch him the last couple of weeks, and it's like,
He's
oh,
been
Chris
good.
Paul. Okay,
Yeah.
he's
And
beating big guys again.
I feel like the Rockets will kind of have to stagger their minutes just to make sure there's an elite option every single time down the floor, just because that's all the Rockets really have.
I think you look at Houston last year going to 7 games. If they didn't have that 0-27 stretch from 3 in Game 7, we're
throw those 27 straight threes away.
Yeah. I mean, things would be different. We'd be looking back either the Cavs beat the Rockets or Rockets. James Harden's an NBA champion and nobody's talking
That
about
would
how
have
he
been
chokes.
such a storybook run.
Yeah.
And as like the biggest D'Antoni fan at the Ringer, it would have made my heart grow like 5 sizes.
So
But
Paul George has a sore right shoulder, which is just as non-specific enough to
I mean,
be
Could that be like a
suspicious.
torn rotator cuff and they're not telling
That's
us?
kind of suspicious.
that's
What
kind
do
of
you know,
one thing-
KOC?
I don't know anything.
You know stuff.
I don't know anything.
You look so guilty right now.
I've only heard rotator cuff, but I don't know what. I don't know if it's serious or minor or like a sprain.
But that's kind of the
it could be
thing.
nothing.
That's kind of the thing this season, right? Like all of these injury updates that we've gotten from almost every team has been more vague than they've been in the past.
It's becoming like not quite like hockey, lower body, upper
Right.
body.
They're vague, and then the
Yeah.
timetable has been completely unreliable for so many of these injuries.
Well, I mean, when you have a star player in the finals with a broken hand and it's not announced until after the finals are over, a team probably feels like, oh, we're not going to.
Man, LeBron's injury timeline this year was and like what they told the media was insane.
The goalposts kept moving.
Do you remember when we heard like,
allegedly broken hand.
Remember, I think it was like after Game 4 or whatever, or before Game 4, we texted like, "Are you hearing anything about LeBron's hand?" And like, there was really nothing concrete out there. And then, boom, the second the game's over, it's like out there within an hour.
Well, he started it early.
weird.
He started shaking hands with people with his left hand, so he was paving the way for
Very
the
normal.
post game, whatever the with the carpal tunnel thing that he had on his hand that was like allegedly for the broken hand, and we all kind of let it
Chris
go.
Ryan wore that like a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all let it go. Like we let go a lot of things with LeBron. We're going to talk about it in 1 second, right after this break. Let's take a quick break, talk about Hulu Plus. Hey, once you've experienced Hulu Plus, it's a little like winning 12 sports titles in a century, Isaac. You can't go back. You're just used to winning. That's the gist of that Hulu commercial I've been seeing everywhere. It's all about how Hulu has tons of shows and movies, exclusive originals like The Handmaid's Tale, plus live TV for sports. Once you get Hulu, it will ruin TV for you forever. Start your free Hulu trial today at hulu.com, Hulu. Live TV plan required for live content. Restrictions apply. And if you do it right now, guess what? You get our Bachelor show that we talked about earlier. Can I steal you for a second? If you love The Bachelor, you will thoroughly enjoy this show. I promise you. So check it out. Free trial, Hulu, today at hulu.com. Okay, LeBron James. Could this have worked out? I was just barring injury, could this have worked out worse? I'm trying to think of any scenario that could have been worse than this.
They would have made the playoffs if he was if he never got injured.
They were the 4 seed on Christmas.
I would put so much money on that. Yeah.
Casey, what?
No,
what
they were
was
the
their,
6 seed, Casey, when he went out.
Okay,
They were the 6 seed. At the end of the Christmas Day games, they were the 6 seed.
But you checked out the numbers and like what were they on pace to win?
They're on pace to win 48 games, and now that's with net rating, point differential, and also just the wins.
But I thought their schedule was about to get harder, and that was the other thing.
It was. They have a really difficult finish to the schedule, but there's no way. Like they would have made the playoffs, they would have got out in the first round, and it would have been
maybe. I mean, like because it wasn't just LeBron's injury though. It was Lonzo Ball, their best defender's been out. Ingram right now is out, and Kuzma's also out too. So it's like these guys have only played, I forget off the top of my head, maybe 15 games together, those 4.
This is a way better outcome than getting killed by the Warriors. I'm sorry.
I mean, it is. But at the same time, how much of this current Kuzma and Ingram stuff is kind of like what we saw with LeBron today, where they're pivoting to, next season?
Hey, it's the right move.
Conspiracy theories.
It's the right move.
My kind of content right there. The only thing I'll say about LeBron getting injured, he has played like 57,000 minutes and he's played 18 years and just had a 100-game season. And this is what happens when you're putting all your eggs in this basket. Like, I think it's actually a little unrealistic to expect 3,000 minutes from the guy at this point in his life. We've seen this happen, with Kobe, with Peyton Manning, all these different people where you just it's Tom Brady right now. You just assume it's going to keep going. And at some point, it's not sustainable.
Right. You're putting less and less around LeBron each year.
It's just so unprecedented, the amount of minutes he's played at 34.
Yeah.
Everyone above him was
like 40 by the time they finished this.
Right. They were at like the tail end of their careers. And that's where it's like scary seeing him amongst those players. It's like, oh.
So him and Dirk are basically neck and neck. And Dirk has how many years on him? Like at least 5, 6.
Yeah. I started to become obsessed with this, I think when I was on Countdown like 5 years ago, because he might have passed like 40,000 minutes or 35. And I was like, oh my God. And I looked it up and it had no parallel to basically anything that had happened other than Kobe.
Right.
And if you remember with Kobe, it was the same thing. It's like, how's this guy doing it? And then like his Achilles snapped.
All of a sudden he didn't.
It was over. So, that's part of it. The other thing is like, I just keep looking at this from LeBron's standpoint, where it just seems like this was poorly conceived, where it's like he had so much confidence in himself. It'll be fine. I'm LeBron James. And just really didn't think like, well, what happens if we don't get anybody else? What do we do then? This is how it plays out.
I mean, it's not like LeBron would ever punt on a season. But with that said,
it seems like he just did.
Well, yeah. I mean, in the beginning, like before the season,
except that this would not be a year that they made the playoffs.
But like now
from
that
the beginning,
now that it's happened, I mean, getting that extra month or 2 of rest before recording Space Jam in June is not the worst thing in the world for the longevity of his career to get that extra time off instead of making it, even if it's a run until late April or even mid.
So I've heard this case.
It's not bad.
I actually think this is an abject disaster for him because you're coming off this May and June where it's like, this guy's the GOAT.
Right.
Oh my God, this guy really, this is it. And then from basically the moment that maybe it's like the curse of J.R. Smith. From the moment that J.R. Smith play happens, it's like everything has gone wrong for this dude, including, I think, one of the biggest what ifs of this decade. And if I was writing another edition of my book, I would have to include this. Like, what if Paul George goes to the Lakers as now like a top 50 NBA what if, because he's been one of the 3 or 4 best guys in the league. And if it's LeBron and Paul George, and then you could trade Kuzma or Ingram and get a rim protector, and now things are happening.
I mean, in that what if scenario, does LeBron, cede as much control as Westbrook does?
I think LeBron's been waiting to cede control.
Right.
I think he's looking for the next moment. Like we always point out, there's all these articles every year about the new way he's aging into his game, right? 2 years ago, he was walking the ball down the court. Now he's like passing it and then staying above the break and watching the play out. I think that that's the next step for him, is to have enough trust in a next guy. Think about it. This year, his second leading scorer has been Kuzma. Okay, last year was Kevin Love. That's a significant step
does
up.
like Kuzma ever make an all-star team? I would say no. Right?
Probably not.
He's 24 at this point. What is Kuzma? He's 17-7,
Right.
18-7.
Exactly. And before Kevin Love, it was Kyrie. Before Kyrie, it was Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh.
Right.
Before him, it was
Chris Bosh is
Mo
way better
Williams
than
in
anyone in this Laker
2009.
team.
Boogie
Yeah.
Gibson.
Yeah. So I think that is where it went the most wrong. But I do think it would have went well with Paul George because I think he's been waiting to cede control to somebody else.
And that,
Control might not be the best word, but definitely like share, more than he ever has before.
that's why it's so important for them to get AD, because if it's not AD, then who is it? Like, are you throwing money at Jimmy Butler? That's not going to get it done. I mean, who will it
That'd
be if it's not going to be a trade for AD? I'm just not sure who the target
Does
is.
Jimmy Butler get 3 years?
He could be in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, no.
It's got to be like 2 years, right? That's got to be the max.
Something like that, yeah.
It's like irresponsible to give him 3 years.
Is he 30 yet? Or is he still 29?
He's
I believe
30 now.
I think one of two things happens. Either like a team like a Phoenix type, not necessarily them, but a Phoenix type, an Orlando type, just is like, you know what, screw it. We're going to throw a lot of money at this guy.
It's
and
like
bring
the
in a
Blake
star
Griffin
player.
trade,
but a signing instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that could end up happening with a long-term deal.
I wouldn't recommend that.
Me neither.
With the Jesus. Where do you think LeBron, after like 3 glasses of wine, he's with his buddies, at some point he's like, man, I should have done this. What do you think he says? Danny, you go first. What do you think he says to Dwayne Wade on their second bottle of Cabernet? Is Gabrielle Union's asleep next to them on the couch and LeBron's wife's in bed and he's like, hey man, Dwayne, I got to tell you something. What does he say?
I don't know.
Oh, Haley knows.
I do know. This is where he went wrong. So he righted a wrong that he had last time when he left to go to Miami, right? Which was that he very much made it seem this way. I'm not saying he orchestrated all of this, but when he went to LA, he was like, look, you guys can't blame me, right? Cleveland, like, I gave you a championship. Look at the owner I've dealt with. Look at this front office. Look at this roster. Okay, nobody was mad at him for leaving. I don't think. I mean, Titus still talks about Cavs fans still being LeBron
He's on
fans.
earlier in this podcast. We were talking about LeBron left wreckage behind him and all those contracts that they signed because they were afraid he was going to leave.
If I listen to this podcast and hear a Rick Pitino reference
No, there's no Patino.
earlier. Okay,
Listen,
good.
The Ringer is Patino friendly these days.
Now.
We ran like the most
Thank
important
you.
Patino
Shout out
feature.
John
We sent
Gonzalez.
somebody to Greece.
Yeah. How dare you?
Shout out John Gonzalez. But anyway, where he went wrong was not on image, it was on preparation because he very much knew the team he was walking into going to Miami, right? There was a lot and I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I don't know if he really thought they were going to get Paul George to sign there. I don't know if they thought it was a sure thing that they could get Anthony Davis traded, but the actual preparation of the team is where he went wrong.
What seems like, remember, go back and read the stories. Like it seemed like he was heavily involved with who they picked, and there was that whole thing about how they wanted they didn't want a team just of shooters. They wanted a tough team, defensive
Well, but also
identity.
1-year deals.
Yeah.
And like I was wrong about this team, right? With the guys that they added. To me, I looked at it from an asset perspective, like all 1-year deals setting up for next summer. But like that may not work out the way that I expected it. And I wonder for LeBron, on his second bottle of wine, if he's thinking, I don't know if I can trust.
Wait, second bottle or third glass? Where are we at?
I don't know. Second
How
bottle.
drunk is he?
Him and Wade, they opened a second bottle. They just opened it. They're
just
gonna
open it. Okay.
They're not going to drink off it.
I think with LeBron, it would be about a lack of trust in the decision makers more than anything else. I don't think he would regret going to LA. Like his family's there. He's happy. He has all his stuff off the court. His business is there. I doubt he regrets that at all. But it would be more of a uncertainty with what's going to happen moving forward with the decision makers.
The creative infrastructure.
And who they hire as the new head coach, assuming Luke Walton gets fired, which everybody seems to expect to happen at some point. That's what I assume with LeBron being.
I predicted 2 weeks ago there was going to be a throw under the bus of Pelinka and Magic and Luke by some piece, but not with LeBron's fingerprints on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday is like the perfect time for that piece to run. I'll be interested to see if we see it.
I mean, Saturday, primetime, Lakers Celtics.
Yeah.
Oh, man, what a weird game that's going to be.
Super weird.
Weird energy. Although now the Celtics, after the miracle plane ride, One of the most miraculous plane rides in sports.
They're gonna run the
Where
table
was
now.
that plane ride going from? How long was the?
Can the if there's a flight attendant on that plane who overheard it, can you just email us the details?
That was
That'd be
Boston to
great.
San Francisco.
Boston. So how
Or
long of
maybe
a
to
flight
Oakland,
is
yeah.
that?
It's like 6
6
hours.
hours. Yeah,
You're
it's a
flying
long
against the
flight.
wind.
So
it's
how
tough
long
one.
do we think he was talking to Brad?
I would say maybe 30, 40 minutes, him and Brad, and then
And the other
Then it
4
moves to the
hours
team.
was the rest of the team. Kyrie seems like he's a guy who's got a lot to say.
I don't think it's lasting like longer than an hour though.
Right.
maybe it's an hour.
And then they just like play cards afterwards.
Yeah.
They're all on their phones listening to Kyrie, like
I wonder with
half paying
Kyrie.
attention.
I wonder with Kyrie, like how much of it, and like this is me trying to put myself in his shoes. I wonder how much of it is him like trying to just stir chaos and manufacture adversity. Like that if he felt, oh, this is the way I'm going to be a leader to keep people on edge,
Right,
and then maybe he realized this is not going to work.
The Kobe LeBron
Yes,
method.
and
of
then he's like,
stirring shit up.
Time to change it up. Time to be cool. I don't know.
Well, Kobe was way more bull in a china shop than LeBron. LeBron was like passive aggressive.
LeBron is
Yeah.
subtle. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got the Arthur fist on Instagram mood. He's got I mean, honestly, a lot of it can go back to Instagram. Remember when he was leaving Kevin Love out in 2016?
I mean, he kind of fucked Kevin Love up. I feel like I do feel like Kevin Love. I think he
Kevin
had
Love got a ring.
What was
They
that?
got a ring.
No, he
Yeah,
did,
right.
but
What was
I
that?
think
Fit in, don't fit out, something like
Fit
that.
in, don't fit out. Yes.
I think the stories, the behind the scenes stories of when those guys all yelled at Kevin Love last year, that was like really crazy.
That is awful. That is awful.
It just seemed like they had no sense of
That
anything
also seemed like it was a lot of Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
like him having a clubhouse heat check.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I remember like I've heard recently, not maybe in the past year or something, like when David Blatt was getting fired, Kyrie wanted to keep him and LeBron didn't. Like those two had a disagreement over that at some point. So yeah, I think it seems like over the years in Cleveland, there was quite a lot of
It's also
disagreements.
interesting thinking about that in the context of Kyrie's relationship to the current Celtics organization, because he, for so long, watched this guy basically have a heavy hand in everything an organization did. I mean, think about it. We're literally talking about the Lakers' mistakes as LeBron's mistakes in free agency from this summer, right?
Yeah.
What other player gets that kind of say? And LeBron and Kyrie watched
James
it
Harden.
in signings and that
Russell
he's
Westbrook.
firing coaches.
Oh, like, are you saying?
The perception?
Are you saying people or
Giannis?
players who would have that or who have
who currently have that. There's
executed
no
that?
way that Harden can walk in and say, fired D'Antoni. There's no way.
You look like you know something, Bill.
I just think the 5 best players in the league have the power.
Right.
Okay, that's
Yeah, but
So-
none of them have actually executed
Yeah.
it other than LeBron.
So whether they
I mean,
use it or not.
Harden's coach did get fired during the season 2
Right.
years ago. Kevin McHale. He got taken behind the stadium and shot, basically. Giannis.
I guess it's just the most public because, like you're saying, LeBron's actually taken that power and done something with it.
the ideal guy to have as your superstar is Giannis. He is like the embodiment of everything you'd want if you were the owner.
Oh, for sure. One watch
Super-
when those commercials.
Super
he's in.
happy to be here. The most delightful guy. He's not thinking of anything other than just winning basketball games. And that's like the easiest superstar you could ever deal with. Great guy, great with people.
That's what's going to happen if the Bucks make a finals run. The conversation will be, is Giannis the new face of the NBA? And he very well could be if the Bucks do make that.
It was interesting.
that
I've been
run.
watching them because their historical numbers were kind of interesting there for a little while. They had like almost a plus 10 point differential, and they had a chance for 64, 65 wins at one point.
Right.
And it was like, what's going on here? Is this? It was like almost the 2008 Celtics were like that, where by the end of the year, it was like I didn't feel like that was one of the 10 best teams ever. But then by every metric, they kind of were, and that's where the Bucks were headed. But then they took a step back. They lost a couple recently.
From a statistics point of view, they're still ranked very highly. Even like if you look at net rating, that includes all like bad teams.
The metrics are really favorable.
But even if you ignore all those poor teams in the league, they still rank incredibly highly against other playoff caliber teams. When I did the Celtics story, like the Celtics have the 3rd best net rating, but it's like the 12th best net rating against the 10 best teams.
Yeah.
Milwaukee is still clear far and away number 1. and like,
Yeah.
no matter what you're looking at.
Yeah.
It's the inexperience is the only red flag, but that was the same inexperience Philly had last year.
Yeah, and there are only 2 teams in the East, I believe, that have a plus 500 record against plus 500 teams. So it's the Bucks and the Raptors.
One team that now I do this, I overreact when I see people in person sometimes. I did it with Kevin Knox. I really liked him, and he's been a disaster, I think, ever since I saw him in person. I was impressed by Portland, and I think there's a sneakiness to them heading into the playoffs because of how bad last year's playoffs went, which is like, that was last season. Who cares?
It was also all about matchups.
Yeah, and it was just it happens. I wouldn't want to see them in round 1.
Right.
Well, the problem with them has been that there's the backcourt, and if that fails in the playoffs, then they don't have much else security, right? And that's what they've been building up since.
Right. And they're defensively a little bit better. And I actually think McCollum taking a step back has been weirdly good for them because last year was a little dueling banjos thing, and this year he hasn't been as good. But now it's kind of Lillard's team. Like the game did you go to that game, the Wednesday game?
No.
It really just felt like it was Lillard's team, and I didn't totally feel that last year. I wouldn't want to see them in the playoffs. I also really like Nurkic. Next time I do trade value, I'm bumping him up more.
He's been really good for them. It feels like Nurkic, ever since, before the draft, he's always been someone who runs hot, runs cold. This year, he's running hot often. Maybe it's the situation. Maybe it's his teammates. Maybe he's happy. Maybe he's matured. But the fact is, no matter what it is, dude's been more consistent.
He's a legitimately good defensive player.
Yeah, he's an elite rim protector.
He really is. And I was like, am I imagining this? And I went and looked up, they have those rim protection stats, and he was in the top 5.
And yeah, he was in the top 3 last year, I believe, as well. It's just why is Zach Collins not getting any minutes?
Yeah, that's
at least they have options, though. I mean, if you need to go more of a defensive oriented center, you could go Collins. If you need scoring, you can go Cantor. I think the options are at least nice.
They fell in love with another white guy.
Can't play Cantor.
Can't play Cantor.
They have Layman now. They don't need Zach Collins. I like Cantor. I'm the only one at the Ringer who still believes in him as a playoff guy.
Yeah, you can put him in. He'll give you a double-double.
Yeah. Lovely gent, but
Utah, you buying or selling?
I'll buy them.
Okay. Buy them and get to round 2?
Yeah.
I say, what happened last year is their ceiling. They won't go further.
Who would they play if it ended? I got to look it up. I still can't buy a team that plays Jay Crowder at crunch time. I'm just biased.
They're scarred.
And by the way, all due respect to Jay Crowder, I like Jay Crowder, but at some point you have to have 5 kick-ass guys in your crunch time. I don't know.
Utah would face Houston if the playoffs
Well, they don't even
today.
have 4.
So I'm not buying if it's Houston.
That's not great. And they're kind of stuck in the...
I think they have a really easy remaining
They're
schedule,
kind of stuck in the 3
They
spot.
have the easiest remaining schedule.
Thank you. They have the easiest remaining schedule, so maybe they'll bump up. What's the spot ahead of them? How many games back are they?
Can Denver's a game behind Golden State now.
Yeah.
Right now, Portland is tied with Oklahoma City for the 4 seed.
But OKC's going to drop thanks to Paul George's torn rotator cuff that KOC refuses to report. He needs Tommy John surgery and rotator cuff surgery.
It's KOC's nervous laugh too.
I don't know. He obviously got a text, but can't get it confirmed.
No, that's not true.
It's fine.
And they're 2 games ahead of Utah.
Okay.
In that 6th spot.
What? Can we all agree that just get San Antonio out of there? I just can't watch them anymore. As much as I like Bertans, and I've never seen him miss a shot in all the times I've watched League Pass, I'm just the Kings being in there is so much more fun for me.
Right. They need to go on.
The 4-game Kings sweep will be epic.
It's not going to happen, but
the Kings schedule, it's not tough, but there are some really hard games down the stretch.
But
Houston, San Antonio, Houston, Utah, New Orleans, Portland.
They don't clean up against bad teams. All of their games are close. They suffer from young teamitis.
Yeah,
right,
but here's the thing:
where you play up and you play down.
Bagley was a 2010 guy when he went down. I mean, that was not an insignificant injury. When that happened, I was like, "Fuck, they're not going to make the playoffs." I wanted it so bad.
Pretty funny at the beginning of the season, Yeager resisted playing Bagley. Turns out he's pretty good. I mean, obviously a rookie is going to take time to develop, but he's really come along well.
If they don't make the playoffs, I think that might come back to haunt him from a long-term stability job standpoint. Would be
Weren't there rumors or whispers in the middle of the season about his job security?
Because they were furious about the Bagley thing. Because they're getting their ass kicked about Doncic. And meanwhile, they're like, Bagley's good.
Right.
The dude's not playing him. And
also, all Jaeger does is just compliment other teams to the point where they're like, why do you still work here then?
There's that Luka quote that was sort of out of context.
Sure.
But still. You know,
I mean, he's done it for years now, though.
yeah, it's this. If he gets knocked out of this job, I think it's going to be tough to find a third team because the Memphis thing ended really badly too.
There were rumblings earlier in the season about Minnesota, but we'll see if they keep Ryan Saunders, which
seems like the Minnesota thing to do.
Yeah, he's done a good job, I think.
Boy, yeah.
Well, at least with Saunders, the only thing I care about with the coach for that is can Towns get going, and Towns got fucking going. I mean, Towns is.
I think what they need is a player's coach.
Now.
I mean, if Andrew Wiggins has any hope, it's going to be with a guy who can relate to him. And
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not saying that I would put hope into it, but they do need a player's coach, and he just has the literal look of it. You know, he's like a young guy, and he's related to them for years on the bench. Yeah, so.
I just want to live in a world where Jeff Green, Cam Reddish, and Andrew Wiggins can all play together, and just
you're
and
totally
just be
out.
completely up and down depending on the game.
You're out on Reddish.
I'm not out on Reddish.
Okay.
Score like 135 one game and one.
He's the next Jeff Green camp, though.
I think he's Jeff Green 2.0. I think he'll be better than Jeff Green, but I still feel like something about it I don't like.
I mean, it's always been a question with him. You know, the mentality and the consistency and the effort level.
And the finishing ability, it's been bad.
And the ball handling, I mean,
and also obviously he's with Clutch. We saw pictures of them leaving lunch already, and LeBron sat.
That was like 2 years ago.
And LeBron sat courtside for his game. It wasn't for Zion. It was for Cam Reddish.
The word. Yeah.
So, and when you have things taken care of and people promising you stuff already, your incentive kind of wanes. The opposite is like somebody like Danny, where to push him to write his award-winning food column, right, and write about do what he does best. Now, Chow Down is a sensation.
More to come.
What's the next Chow Down?
TBD. We're still figuring out a new location.
New location. Who's we? Who do you figure it out with?
The
brain trust. You have a brain trust?
Yeah.
Who's on your brain trust?
Barrier and Fantasy. Not
Craig Gaines. You left him out.
Craig has way too many things to worry about than think about little old me.
All right.
Danny's food columns gave me a new appreciation of food. It's true.
Also eating, like eating at places in LA.
Yeah, definitely, man. No, it's true. It like made me realize food is art. Yeah.
All right, we're wrapping up. Anything else? Louisville for the tournament?
Yes.
Are you allowed to be in the tournament?
Yes. That was so. Can we just not anymore?
That's a totally fair question. Sometimes Louisville's not allowed to be in the tournament.
That was sometimes.
Sometimes. Sometimes you're allowed. Sometimes you're not allowed.
Okay, bye, Bill. Bye.
Danny, KOC, Haley, Isaac.
Yeah.
Do you want to make the playoffs or not?
Of course I do. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get your pick if you make the playoffs.
But convey the pick this year. We don't have to convey it next year.
It turns into a second if you don't make the playoffs.
It turns into 2 seconds 2 years later. We would have to convey next year if we were in the
So you want in? You're in on this weird Clippers team.
Yeah, I think this is a good team, and I think it's good. It's like an old school thing to say, but like get in the first round. Have the young guys get a little run.
Yeah, give Shea some burn in the playoffs.
It's bullshit because we have to send this whole playoff check, and they're going to play like 2 home games, and they just keep our money. It's like extortion. They're just like, yeah, playoff tickets. The full price for all 4 rounds of games. And you're like, wait, what? What's going on? You're going to get swept in round 1. Why do we have to send a giant check? I'll still go. I'll be excited. Isaac, maybe I'll take you.
Maybe.
Not definitely.
You have a number.
Maybe. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right, that's it. Thanks again to ZipRecruiter. Don't forget to go to ziprecruiter.com/BS. Thanks to Hulu. Don't forget to check out your free trial there on hulu.com. And thanks to the Rewatchables podcast, because we have one of my favorite movies coming up next week, and you have 4 days to watch it. Broadcast News. I think it's in the conversation for 5 or 6 best movies of the last 35 years. It has aged wonderfully. It somehow did not win an Oscar. But if you want to catch up with us when we do this, when we'll be dropping it next week, please do. Check it out, and then you'll be able to enjoy it with us. Also, we are trying something on this podcast next week. It's a gimmick. I'm really excited about it. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want anybody to steal it. It's too good of a gimmick. So you'll know. We're going to be dropping some random podcasts that I taped 2 weeks ago. And you'll like it. Anyway, enjoy the weekend. And good luck to Tadell FC this weekend. We only have our biggest game in 4 years. Let's go.